Hello, and welcome to Adventures in Snacking. Have you ever had a late night craving for lasagna, but thought to yourself, no, lasagna takes ages, I'll just grab a quick snack instead? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can make a delicious lasagna more or less from scratch in around 20 to 25 minutes. Believe me, it's about a bajillion times better than anything that comes from a packet. So stay tuned till the end of the video so that you don't miss any of the tricks or hacks. It's snacking time, so let's get adventurous. First things first, we're going to preheat the oven to 220 degrees Celsius. This lasagna comes together pretty quick, so we want to make sure that the oven is hot and ready to go as soon as it's assembled. And the first part of the lasagna that I'm going to make is the creamy component. Now, normally I'm a bechamel kind of guy, but bechamel does take a while to make, so this time around I'm using ricotta. What's that? You don't have any ricotta in the fridge? Well, that's fine, neither do I. Let's make it. It's surprisingly straightforward. I'm taking a large mug of whole milk. I'm also adding a generous pinch of salt and microwaving it on high until it's really hot and steamy, but not quite boiling. Ideally, you'll want this around 80 to 85 degrees Celsius. Once that's steaming hot, I'm grating in a little bit of nutmeg, which is completely optional. Feel free to leave it out. And then I'm adding about a teaspoon of white vinegar and giving it a stir. This will start to separate the milk solids from the liquids, and you'll end up with curds and whey. I'm then going to sit this aside to rest so the curds can develop further. You will get more curds if you can keep this around that 80 to 85 degree mark. So as it rests, if I think it's getting a little bit cool, I'm just going to pop it back in the microwave for 10 seconds or so, just to warm it back up. While we wait for those curds to form, let's get on to the next secret to a speedy lasagna: pepperoni. Proper bolognese takes a really long time to make, and even just cooking out raw beef mince takes quite a while. Substituting the beef mince for pepperoni means that you don't have to cook anything out. The pepperoni is also already packed with flavour, perfectly seasoned and with a little bit of spice. This will bring an absolute boatload of flavour and seasoning to our cheats bolognese without having to mess around with tons of ingredients and a long, slow cooking time. So I'm removing the skin, slicing it, cutting those slices into a dice, and then running my knife through it, mincing it as finely as I can. It shouldn't take very long until you have pepperoni that is a similar texture to cooked ground beef. The next component to the cheats bolognese is a tomato sauce. This is quite often made with canned tomatoes and simmered over a long period to develop the flavour. Instead, I'm starting with fresh tomatoes. I've got a handful of cherry tomatoes, but regular tomatoes would do just fine too. So I'm starting by slicing those in half and then chopping those until they have a chunky sauce-like consistency. I'm adding that to the pepperoni, followed by some tomato paste. This tomato paste is going to add the concentrated richness that you would usually get from a long, slow cooked tomato sauce. To bring out the flavours a little bit more, I'm also adding some dried Italian herbs. Mix that together, thin it out or adjust the ingredients as necessary until you get a nice saucy bolognese-like consistency. Now that that sauce is done, let's get back to our ricotta and pour that through a strainer to separate the curds from the whey, keeping the curds and discarding the whey. At this point, I've got both of my sauces ready to go, and I've found a nice small baking dish that's just right for a personal sized lasagna. Now without pasta, lasagna would just be a bowl of sauce. So I've got some dried lasagna sheets here. For this recipe, you'll want the ones that don't require pre-cooking. These sheets are clearly too long to fit in my baking dish, and it's notoriously difficult to get a lasagna sheet to snap cleanly in a straight line exactly where you want it. But again, I've got a trick to get around this, and this trick will also help to reduce the cooking time, and that is to partially cook the sheets by soaking them in boiling water. 2 or 3 minutes is all it should take to make these soft and pliable. This will make them significantly quicker to cook in the oven, but also means I can use a knife to cut them to the perfect size. Now to assemble, I'm starting with some of my meat sauce on the bottom, just a thin layer should do, and then I'm measuring out my pasta sheet, slicing it to the perfect length, and then laying it on top of the sauce. On top of the pasta sheet, I'm going to spread out a layer of ricotta. And in addition to the ricotta, I'm also adding a little bit of grated mozzarella, followed by the next sheet of pasta, and then the next layer of meat sauce. And I'm sure you can tell where this is going from here. More pasta, more ricotta, more grated mozzarella, more pasta, more meat sauce, more pasta. And for the final layer, I've run out of ricotta, so I'm just going in with a generous amount of mozzarella and a little bit of parmesan. And then into the oven it goes for how long? Well, really just until it's hot. Everything's already cooked, so we're really just looking to heat everything through and melt the cheese. For me, that took around 17 minutes. And this smells delicious. I could eat it straight out of the baking dish, but for the purposes of making it look nice for the video, I'm going to serve it up, running a knife around the outside to loosen it up, and then slipping a spatula underneath. And just like I promised in the intro, doesn't that look a bajillion times better than anything pre-made? Time for a taste test, and we've got the lovely brown crispy cheese on top, that slightly chewy top layer of pasta, some nice oozy cheese in the middle, and a chunky meaty sauce. The pepperoni has seasoned everything beautifully, brought a wonderful flavour and a little hint of spice. The tomato is rich from the tomato paste, but also has a nice brightness from the fresh tomatoes. This has been an amazing snack and really rewarding for such a small amount of work. This is definitely going on my list of things to make again. If you're interested in any of the equipment I use, or you'd like to support the channel, you can find some affiliate links to some really great kitchen gear in the description below. Click this link to watch another great video, and until next time, happy snacking. Okay, all done. I reckon that's done. Do you think that's done? Yeah. Shake on it. Good boy.